Now, why do we even need treats for hard labor or endurance? Because the thing we're doing isn't love for itself, so you need a surrogate thing? Now, J.A.C. Brown, in his book Techniques of Persuasion, says that most ad men would claim that there is a genuine science of advertising psychology, comparable, for example, with industrial psychology. The first textbook on the subject to arrive in Britain was written by a Professor Walter Dill Scott, director of Psychological Laboratory at the Northwestern University in Chicago. This appeared in 1909. It was not until the late 1930s that advertising discovered Freud, and little came of this discovery until the late 40s and early 50s. Gene Kilbourne says that advertising corrupts relationships and then offers us products, both as solace and as substitutes for the intimate human connection we all long for and need. Most of us know by now that advertising often turns people into objects. Women's bodies and men's bodies, too, these days are dismembered, packaged, and used to sell everything from chainsaws to chewing gum. We're going to see some examples in a minute. Here's a couple of advertisement headlines or mottos or whatever. Who says guys are afraid of commitment? He's had the same backpack for years. The insinuation that a human relationship is now to a product, to their product. That truck saved my life. Touching is good. That's a very true sentence. Wilhelm Reich would be proud. But what was it for? A technical gadget advertisement. Here's one for a sneakers advertisement. When was the last time you felt this comfortable in a relationship? At least we can be faithful to our watches. Yeah, at least. Burger King advertisement. Are you ready for a new relationship? Whiskey, alcohol, Southern Comfort. Hang on to your spirit. Diamonds, a girl's best friend. An MTV ad says, buy this 24-year-old and get his friends absolutely free. Here's one. The internet is your friend, but it doesn't have to be your only friend. So who's this authority voice, you see, that's speaking, that's giving us all this direction? This is what bothers me. Who is this all-wise oracle that's telling us how to run our lives? Gene Kilbourne says that in the 1999 Super Bowl, a Victoria's Secret ad paraded bra and panty-clad models across a TV screens for more than 30 seconds. 1 million people turned away from the game to log on to the website promoted in that ad. Bernard McGrave is a PhD. He said that advertising is designed to generate an inner sense of conflict within the self. They're picking up the pieces. They're finding out what's going on in the state of decay. And we're going to look even a lot deeper in this series into all of this, because with the same idea in mind, but we have to go deeper than most of these psychologists. Gene Kilbourne says that a cigarette provides the symbol of independence. A pair of designer jeans or sneakers convey status. The right perfume or beer resolves doubts about femininity or masculinity. Today, she says, we export a popular culture that promotes escapism, consumerism, violence, and greed. We end up in a world ruled by, in John Maynard Keynes' phrase, the values of the casino. On this deeper level, rampant commercialism undermines our physical and psychological health, our environment, and our civic life, and it creates a toxic society. Advertising, she says, corrupts us and promotes a dissociative state that exploits trauma and can lead to addiction. To add insult to injury, it then co-opts our attempts at resistance and rebellion. Of course, some of these ads, it's so obscure, the sexual content, it's hard to see what they were getting at. Very subtle. That can be a problem. But, of course, some of it is very subtle. For instance, this company's logo there at the bottom right, close to the vaginal area there, CTX, it's very close to the Latin cetus, which actually means vagina. And the ad men know exactly, well, the headless woman there makes you wonder, but just concentrating on the logo of the company itself has a sexual connotation. Here we have the Chanel. Again, you see the positioning of the logo and the listless, sort of apathetic pose of the model. Here's a company actually called AOM. Of course, this is all the feminine symbolism that very much attracts the mind. Here you have the vaginal passageway in the Chanel, and right in the middle of it is 4 men. And by the way, if you look very closely, you'll see that even the an, A-N, is an ancient word meaning the heavens. It was like where the word Anna comes from. So the heavenly one. Very interesting symbolism there. Not to mention the fact that in numerology, C is 3. So if you put two C's together, it's 33, possibly implying the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. Here you have again the symbol. Of course, being in Sweden, we all know what Sephora means. As I say, some of them are so subtle it's hard to fathom what they're really pointing out. Here's the Yoni. And Michael is the archangel name. There's the company there. And you see the phallic pin. And then this worrisome image, which you find a lot, of the female being in some sort of like spasticated, lethargic pose, which is all over the media, where not only is the body flaccid, it really implies there's no structure there. The person cannot walk, or that they have a sort of a marionette quality about them, or that there's a sort of a regressed infantilism, doll-like quality, incompetence level. As I said, the doll-like quality. Women reduced to a level of an object, of course, is absolutely ubiquitous. Or even hints at this postmodern, post-human thing we're going to look at in the next meeting. And even far worse, as we know, it's crept into these almost necrotic, necrophiliac scenes. These are advertisements for just normal things, fashion, and the models are shown like they've been murdered or strangled or whatever, covered in blood. You're finding this now in more and more videos, pop videos. Now, of course, in some of these cases, the women are not actually dead. They still appear to have some sort of life in them, and therefore there's a double meaning going on here. How can you be riddled with bullet holes and still be standing up? It's because the idea is that the blood that's on them is the result of their crime. That they are some sort of vampire who's committed the crime and is in a state of satiation or listlessness, not because they have been murdered or killed. It's a twist. It's a twisted mind. Well, we're in the realms of the insane here, so it's Dante's Inferno. But the idea is then that the woman is not the victim, but she is in fact the perpetrator. And this then causes this mixed messages that we've been talking about, which in that case, she's deserving of being killed. She's deserving of her fate. And this concept of the vamp and the basically femme fatale is hugely important. The Salem company, cigarette company, uses the backward writing, that Salem is actually males backwards, because in the unconscious mind it doesn't matter if a word is backwards or forwards. To the unconscious mind it receives the message loud and clear. And this whole idea of this vampiristic, predatory, headless female is absolutely one of the worst, corruptions. But then another important thing to notice is this concept of androgyny, which is again a very spiritual, sacred thing, right? The desire to unify the masculine and feminine within yourselves. It's part of alchemy, it's part of Hermetic science, it's part of the whole yogic tradition, magical tradition, whatever you want to call it, or at least it was originally. And then again, like they said, knowing that we want that, knowing that that's the goal of all spirituality, all magic, all yoga, all science, even if you really want to go that deep, what's known in the alchemical tradition as the chemical wedding, the advertisers, again, drawing upon all of that occult wisdom, often use this. In fact, if you want a really, really beautiful, exotic example of this, get out Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula movie and watch the last scene.